All right, thank you, Claire, for joining us. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Claire Quantzer and I head up business and client development at a communications agency called Social.
Brilliant. Okay. And what led you to where you are now? What did you study at university?
So at university, I studied European business with Spanish. I did that at Nottingham Trent University, and that was a 4-year course, which was a balance between the kind of business studies side of things, but also with Spanish as well. So it meant that I got to spend a year in Spain as part of my course, doing both. I think half the year was at university and half the year was doing a work placement as well.
Oh, fantastic. And where did you go in Spain?
I got to spend the year in Barcelona, which was really, really fun. One of my, I think I'll probably say it's my favourite city in the world. And what was good about my time there was that the university I went to, they had quite a few international students doing the same, what was the Erasmus scheme. So it meant that I got to meet people from France, Italy, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, as well as meeting Spanish students as well. So that was a lot of fun and really good experience.
Brilliant. And did you study at the university there then? What did you study while you were there?
I did. So it was, I studied business studies at the university. So it really complemented the studies that I was doing in back in the UK, but obviously getting the chance to enhance that with my language learning as well. So it was quite interesting to see how the university life worked over there, but also getting to really enhance my language skills too, while socialising with people and everything. And actually having to submit homework and things in Spanish was it was a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about your current job now, what you do?
Yeah, so currently I spent about 15 years working in PR and communications, and now I head up business development and client development in an agency. So that's really kind of helping with the marketing for the agency and helping them to grow clients and win new business.
Brilliant. So some of our students might not know what is PR, what does it stand for, and what does that entail?
So PR it's public relations, that's what it's short for, and it's really around kind of helping organisations to manage their reputation, so how they work and speak to and communicate with their customers or other stakeholders. So a lot of it can involve dealing with journalists or dealing with the media, whether that's kind of being proactive in terms of creating, or putting out interesting stories about the business, but also there can be times when you're having to, I guess, protect the reputation as well. In terms of if they have an issue or a crisis, of being able to kind of handle media situations. So generally speaking, I'd say, when you look through newspapers or read magazines or see things online, if there's an interview with somebody, that's often been kind of managed and arranged maybe by somebody that works in PR, but also anything from when you see product reviews and things on magazines and stuff too, that's often been arranged by a PR person. So it can be anything from dealing with consumer products right the way through to big corporate issues. So I've worked on a real range of brands and organisations.
Fantastic. Any that our students will have heard of?
Yeah, so I worked with Greggs for quite a few years, so doing a lot of work with sausage rolls and pasties and whatnot. That was quite a lot of fun. I also worked with Asda, Pets at Home. I also worked with St John Ambulance about 10 years ago, doing a lot of work with them in terms of fundraising and encouraging people to learn first aid. But then organisations who like technology companies like Oracle and EMC, so a lot of the people that are creating the technology behind the scenes to be able to help us to have Zoom calls like this. So yeah, a real variety of companies that I've worked with.
Brilliant. So it sounds like your job is pretty cool. What would you say is the coolest thing that you have had to do in your job?
I'd say, so probably actually earlier on in my career, so I worked at an agency down in London called Golin, and at the time we had a few clients that worked in the telecommunications industry, so quite a few like the mobile phone sector. I spent a few years working with Orange, well, what was then Orange, they don't really exist now as a mobile, what became EE as a provider, and there's a big conference that takes place each year in Barcelona, actually called Mobile World Congress. So I got to go there, I think about 3 years in a row, to go and support some clients there. I think what in all honesty, what helped me to get my place in terms of being picked to go was the fact that I spoke Spanish. So I could go not only to help my clients, but to help other colleagues and other clients and things that we had that were out there as well. It gave me the opportunity to do work for clients, but also I was helping colleagues to translate press releases, or if somebody had to negotiate with a taxi driver, I was the person that could help them. So being able to speak the language helped to secure my ticket to go.
Fantastic. So in your current job, I understand that you're not necessarily using your Spanish in your current role, but it sounds like communication is really the key to what you've been doing throughout your career. So how would you say that your studies of Spanish have prepared you for your current career?
I think definitely in terms of, like you say, the communication side of things. So I think what helps with, in particular with Spanish, I guess being a kind of a Latin-based language, it's really helped me to, I often find that there are words that if I don't necessarily know or I'm familiar with, often I'll be able to make an educated guess in terms of what they're about or what they're related to. So obviously that comes, Spanish, French, Italian, often you can sometimes make an educated guess in terms of what something means. I'd also say having spent time living abroad as well, it just helps you in terms of being able to maybe see things from somebody else's point of view and being able to adapt the way you might say something or the way you might approach a conversation, just having that experience of dealing with people from different cultures and different ways of working and everything. So it really, really has helped me.
Okay. And what's the hardest thing that you've done so far in your career?
Oh gosh, I think, they're different. I think dealing with the media can be quite difficult generally when you get last minute requests or people are complaining about something. So gosh, probably the most challenging, I would say, trying to think of one that I can probably talk about quite easily, would be, we had an issue with a client once whereby they were a provider of childcare vouchers and had a technology system that helped parents to claim childcare vouchers, and unfortunately their system went down just before Christmas. So we had to handle dealing with the media to not only understand what the problem was that had caused the issue, but then working out how to respond to the media to hopefully kind of fan the flames and make sure it didn't escalate too much. And that happened literally, I think it was the 21st of December or something. So there were a lot of unhappy customers and unhappy shareholders with the client, and we had to be able to deal with that and act quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't want to be messing with anybody's Christmas, rather you than me. Okay, so next question is kind of based on our young people, really. What advice would you give for young people who think that language learning is no longer important?
I'd say it couldn't be further from the truth. I think that obviously working in businesses, so many more businesses now are international, are working globally. People have customers all over the world, whilst they might not prioritize a certain country, because of the nature of the way business works now, with so much being on the internet. Being able to communicate with people around the world is really, really important. I'd also say that, I guess, from a more social perspective as well, because we have so many more opportunities to travel, being able to speak another language can really, really help. Even if it's at the most basic level, I often think that it's really good to be able to show a bit of empathy maybe with people when you're in their country. There's I very rarely quote inspirational speakers, but there's a quote from Nelson Mandela that says, speak to a man in a language he knows and it goes to his head, speak to a man in his own language and it goes to his heart. And I really feel that that's very, very true. If you kind of make an effort to speak somebody's language at the most basic level, they'll often be much more open to you and appreciate the fact that you've made that effort.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Okay, great. One final question for you then. If you could sum up language learning in 5 words exactly, what would they be?
Goodness, I had to think about this and then I couldn't think of anything. I'd say probably fun, opportunities to learn something new.
That's great. All sounds really good. Well, Claire, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.